Welcome back everyone to the channel. Today we've got our first tournament review through 4th edition. I took the Rats to a one-day tournament held at Go4 Games in Metairie, Louisiana. Had a great time, had 20 participants come out. Did end up going 3-0. Wanted to kind of share some of the learnings from that event and highlight the overall hobby tournament. So as always, our purpose with these videos are to encourage you guys to get out and go to any of your local tournaments, tournaments at your local stores, support your game store nearby. Wanted to highlight Go4 Games in Metairie, Louisiana as a wonderful place. If you're ever nearby, please check it out. They have great staff and they put on some good games. Zachary Flores was the tournament organizer for this event. He was taking over. This is the second tournament in the Realmgate Wars series. If you remember a previous video we did, a tournament review, was dealing with that same series last year in 3rd edition. This was the second tournament of the year for that series. Zachary's taken over for John, who was running these series of events, letting him be able to play in the events now. First thing I wanted to do was highlight Joshua Arnold, who got best painted with his Sylvaneth. Just a wonderful Alarial there. She's up on top of a rock outcropping, and from the front, you can't really see in this picture, from the front there's like a waterfall going through the legs of the beetle, and it's just overwhelmingly won the best painted award. Here's a shot of his full army there. You can kind of see the waterfall between the legs of the beetle. And just really loving this. For all you fans of any of the Miyazaki movies, you'll notice the little call out there to Princess Mononoke and the trees. Each one of his trees was themed one way or the other. He had one for the that had the Lorax kind of hiding in the bottom of the tree. But yeah, wonderful hobby achievement there, and well deserved on best painting. Congratulations, Joshua. So, just wanted to answer the question of why that I chose Skaven. It's my favorite army. Just fell in love with the Rats. Love the entire aesthetic of the army and just everything about it. Wanted to bring them out in 4th edition. This is during the index period still. Got the battle tome around the corner. I took a Claw-horde army. And at this point, we kind of saw what was going to be coming in the battle tome, and I thought these learnings would apply to the battle tome, as most of the things have not really changed. The +1 rend for the Claw-horde formation is just a little tweaked change. It's actually harder to use it in the index version, in my opinion, but hopefully some of these learnings will carry forward for anyone who wants to use this as a learning point going forward when the battle tome comes out. So here's the list, kind of go over it with you guys. It was a Claw-horde army, like I mentioned, 2 drops. I think 2 drops is where you want to be. 1 drop's pretty hard to get to, but 2 drops really gives you a good chance at being able to choose priority and who gets to go first. Took our spell lore of Ruin, Manifestation, Morbid Conjuration. Everybody knows at this point, early on in the edition, very good lore. Took our general, because he was a War Master, was Thankful. Just a great War Scroll spell, no commands, and then a roll of dice for each model in the unit for 6 up, so a little Horde Breaker spell there, 18-inch range. He's +1 to cast, really helps with any of the magical interventions, kind of getting those Purple Suns and those other manifestations out there that you would be at a -1 to cast, so he's negating that with his +1. Also not a slouch in combat. He can do some damage. Storm Fiends. I took a unit of 3 Storm Fiends with the Grinder Fists. I really think that's a good thing that needs to be in most lists, or some type of threat to have off board to bring down anywhere for grabbing objectives, and they can still do about 11 damage if they get their shooting with them. I kitted them out with the Warp fire projectors, 10-inch range, so if he gets that in there, some Ren 2 shooting. Shot gauntlets is what I had modeled. I like that. And 1/6 sometimes will bring you from no hits to 6 hits. And the last unit in the General's Regiment was 6 Warlock Jezzails. Just probably the better shooting in the army. 24-inch range at this time. They do get downgraded 18-inch range in the new book, but I still think they'll get that plus 6-inch range if you don't move instead of the +1 to hit. So they'll still, I think, be probably one of the better units for shooting. We'll have to see what the weapons teams do. But at this point, they're doing about average 10 damage, a 4-up save, reinforced. Regiment number 1, we had Vermin Lord Warpseer. The reason I picked him was the idea behind this. So Skaven's pretty, as an army, armor saves are pretty high, meaning they're just, any kind of range really going to go through them. So the defenses are lacking. So the idea behind this, with the spell lore for Skaven having Warp Gale, which is an 18-inch range, choose a unit and have strikes last until the end of your next turn. The Vermin Lord Warpseer's Rampage is pick a unit that he's in combat with, and on 4-up, that unit will have strikes last. So this was giving me another try at strikes last, and a little bit of a threat for if the opponent wants to charge in and be within combat range of him, there's a chance they could end up striking last. Now, it wasn't the primary reason I took him. It worked out to be pretty close on points to be able to take him, so that's what we went with. We took the artifact and command trait, or heroic trait as they are called now. Scurry away on a 3-up, he could leave combat, very helpful to keep him alive, and the foul hide to heal D3 wounds at the end of each turn. We took 1 unit of clan rats because we are in the Claw-horde, and they'll be able to benefit by the +1 rend as well on the charge. Storm vermins, we took 2 units of 20 here, and the idea behind them was, I know a lot of people like the Storm Fiends and they're excited about the Rat Ogres and such, but 4-up save on the Storm Vermin, 280 points gets you 60 attacks, 3s and 4s, -2, 1 damage. So we're getting to the -2, they're -1 base, they're -1 or +1 rend, taking a charge. So if they receive a charge, they'll get another rend. And then from Claw-horde, they are going to be +1 rend on the charge. So they're essentially, unless they get stuck in a combat, they're going to be -2 rend at all times. So I think they're really efficient for the points. Got a 4-up save, one of the few 4-up saves in the game, 60 attacks, easy to get them down to 2s, 2s to hit, and then -2, that's a good source of -2 rend, because dealing with the Rat Ogres with -1 rend, going into a 3-up save that's all out defensed. I mean, you can have all the attacks in the world, but if you go and watch our Ideneth versus Skaven video, had a lot, 12 Rat Ogres in that list, 2 Hell Pits, had 12 Rat Ogres with like 45 attacks into a turtle, and did like 2 damage. So all out defense on a 3-up save versus -1 rend is just, it's just going to neuter a lot of units like that. So the idea was to go with the +2 rend, and also it would help a rally. If you wanted to use it on a Storm Vermin, you're going to get 3 attacks back per rally point that you get. So that was the idea, have 2 sources of strikes last, the ability to get out the conjuration, morbid conjuration manifestations, have Rend 2 to get through those higher saves, and the Warpseer also giving the extra 2 inches on the claw steps move would allow me to reposition an 8-inch move pretty much on all my infantry units. So going into our first round battle plan was Border War. Great classic, like it a lot. One of the ones from a previous edition. Essentially you're going to get bonus points if you control the 2 flank ones, the ones on the borders there. And then if you control your opponents, you get 5 points. If you control yours, you get 1 point. Half and half deployment, so 50% deployment makes it a little difficult for turn 1 battle tactics like take the flanks. But let's get into our first opponent here. My first opponent was Brett. he actually was very new. So once again, just wanting to highlight hobby events, man. Just get out there, play some games. He was borrowing a guy's army. Beast of Chaos, just love them. They got the short end of the stick in 4th edition, but hopefully, you know, they still have some juice to them. So this was, didn't take a bunch of pictures of this game because a lot of it was me kind of helping him along, learning the game, and making sure that he was able to do as well as he could in rounds 2 and 3, kind of giving a leg up. So that's what it's all about, guys. You want to build your community and get people playing more games, get them excited about it. So this was his list. Beast of Chaos, Hungering Warherd. He had 2 auxiliary units, 5 drops, just all the drops. And you'll see why, it's pretty cool. So he had the Bestial Manifestations, Lord of the Twisted Wild. General's regiment was Doombull General. He had 2 units of Bulgor, Dragon Ogres, and a Razor Gore. The Doombull General, for the heroic traits and artifacts, I don't remember those right off because he kind of picked those in the moment. I know one of them was the ability to, when a unit was shot within range of his general, they could move 2d6 inches and could move into combat. So that was pretty scary. I actually affected my decision making turn 1. So in the 1st regiment, he had a Great Bray Shaman, 10 Gores, and 2 more Razor Gores. Regiment 2, another Great Bray Shaman, and 2 more Razor Gores. Seeing a pattern here. And then the auxiliary units, 2 Cygors, my personal favorite unit in Beast of Chaos. Just fun all around here. They got pretty good too. So here's the one picture I did take early on. This was after, it's about round 2, I believe it was. Here's round 1. Basically, I took turn 1, so part of the idea behind that was to give him an example of what a turn looked like. It did also play well into my strategy for the game. Just kind of going through how the game kind of flowed and went. I did take Seize the Center as my first battle tactic. I did score it with the Vermin Lord and the Clan Rats, moving them up there. So the idea to take the center there allowed me to use the Claw Steps move when it's his turn to move the Clan Rats back. Then I can also use a Skitter Leap to teleport my Warp Seer out of the center if need be as well. So we kind of moved up our Jezzails to the center. We did do some shooting across the board and just kind of started peppering him with shots. Ended up taking the right flank, had to deal with 2 Cygor, 1 up the middle and 1 on the right flank over here. The other Cygors around here. The Cygors, notable, I think, to talk about that their rampage, I guess, allows them to eat manifestations. And the range on that is 9 inches instead of 6 inches now. It's huge compared to what it used to be. So they just roll 2d6 for the banishment, and then they heal that amount back, which was really cool. I like it a lot. So we ended up, like I said, this was only the one picture that I ended up getting of that game. Did end up winning the game, but spent most of my time during this game kind of teaching him and giving him tips on how he could do better in the next rounds coming. Did end up scoring this game out 46-10 for the Rats, and he was a great opponent and learned a lot. He ended up taking those learnings forward into round 2 and came back all excited, telling me all about his game after the fact. So that's a win for both of us, in my opinion. So battle round 2. Battle plan was Border War. No, it was not. It's a mistake. It was Star Strike. Classic here. First objective comes down on the center in round 1. You roll 2d6 and it's going to come down at one of these different points here, and then on battle round 3, you'll roll another 2d6 for each side, and one objective will come down over here somewhere, and another objective will come down over here somewhere. So my opponent here was Shriever. He's actually my son. You guys see him on the channel all the time. He scored well in the first round with his Slaves of Darkness list, and we ended up pairing up against each other. So I guess we're doing something right, right? And we ended up being on table 3 together, and this was his list. Slave of Darkness, God's Wrath, Warband, 2 drops. He really likes those Alpha Strike lists, those heavy melee lists, so he just went straight up and took into General's Regiment a Prince as his general, favorite of the Pantheon, Conqueror's Crown, with Corn Mark and the Wings. He had a really simple list: 6 Vanguard in the 1st Regiment, or General's Regiment, and in Regiment 1, Lord on Kakadrak, Corn, Chaos Warriors, and another 6 Vanguard, all Mark of Corn. So it's a lot of damage here. Some good movement as well. The Prince here really has some sleeper amount of damage. Damage 3 and the mortals and all. It's a scary list. He was I don't think he played to round 3 in any of his games. So here was our first picture here. And he ended up winning the priority. We were both 2 drops. And this was round 1. At the end of my turn here, I took Seize the Center, moved up the Vermin Lord, and with the Clan Rats yet again here, got the COVID manifestation out here. And the Gravetide also. We had our Storm Vermin over here on this left flank. The first objective came down right here. So the idea behind this was he's got 9-inch or 10-inch movement, if I remember correctly. He's fast. He's probably going to be able to make a charge in. So the Gravetide was kind of to give him, he was going to have something to charge into, but it was also going to limit his amount of movement and kind of do some screening with it. That was the idea behind that. Put the Clan Rats behind it, because once again I can move backwards with 3 claw steps ahead. So we ended up getting our full points for that first turn, which turned out to be just 10 points there, battle tactic, and scored that objective just barely. We did some shooting with the Jezzails, took out one I think, of these Vanguard. We were taking as our priority. We were taking priority targets as our choice for the season rules for our Jezzails for +1 hit wound versus the General's Regiment, and this was his General's Regiment Vanguard unit. So we deployed out our first drop that didn't have the Jezzails in there, and when he deployed his Vanguard that were in the General's Regiment, we counter deployed with our Jezzails. Kind of screened them out with the Storm Vermin. We also did put out the Shackles out here, which was a learning point for me. I hadn't used them that much, but that ended up being a charge anchor, like you'll see, giving extra movement. But that was turn 1 for me with the 10 points. This was his movement on his turn. He moved up within combat of the Shackles, and outside of 3 of the Gravetide, we Claw Steps moved our Clan Rats back, redeployed our Vermin Lord back, and we did a cover fire with our Jezzails, which took out another Vanguard, so actually 2. So he hadn't even gotten into combat. We've killed half of his Vanguard there, so it's a good blow. That's what we wanted to start doing. Plan is working. So he moved up. This is after his charge phase and combat phase here. He took out the Shackles, made a charge with the Warriors there. The Vanguard unit over here did make a charge in and piled in to they made a charge into the Vermin Lord. The Vermin Lord procced his scurry away on a 3-up, moved back, and then he elected to pile in towards the Storm Vermin and took out, I think, about half of them. He could have gone into the Clan Rats, but he felt like he would get more bang for his buck into the Storm Vermin, which I think was the better call. They struck back with their -2 rend and ended up killing another Varangard, so he's down to 2 at this point. This Varangard unit was only able to pile in and hit the Gravetide like our goal was. We also did a magical intervention on his turn and got them with Warp Gale that allowed them to made them strikes last, so, which is good for him. If he took the double turn into me, he would be strikes last. So he scored also 10 points on that turn. Took as his battle tactic the Ordained Charge to charge 2 units in and end up on the objective with one of them. So here he ended up winning the roll-off. Did a lot of decision making there because of my strikes last and all that, and he was just not sure, not super confident about taking the double. In the past, when he's taken the double, he said it's cost him a lot, so he was thinking about that, and he ended up giving the turn to me after a long deliberation, which worked out well for me. This is the end of the combat phase, end of the turn, I believe, for Skaven after he gave the turn to me. We wiped all the Varangard on this right flank. Between the shooting and the Storm Vermin, we ended up getting strikes last on the Varangard over here on this side. Again, on my turn, got the Thankful spell off for no commands. He was just debuffed to the max. And we sent everything in. We didn't kill all of them. We left one gentleman alive. And the Demon Prince did countercharge and did some decent damage. But by the end of this turn, we scored yet another 10 points. We took Slay the Entourage as our battle tactic, and it was just to kill that Varangard unit on this right flank, which we accomplished. And by the end of that turn, we completed, or we ended up rounding out the game there. The game ended up being 46-10 for the Rats. So round 2 win there. He probably, in hindsight, after talking about it, probably should have taken the double turn. It would have been best for him. But you live and you learn. And here we are. That takes us into round 3. Battle plan was focal points. Interesting one here. The underdog has the option to change the central objective to either a flank or a home objective. This plan gave you an extra amount of points if you had both flanks or both homes. So if the underdog changed his central one to a home and he had his home, then he's getting slingshotted up. I believe it was 3 points for that battle plan. So here on this game, we ended up facing Eric. And I've faced Eric quite a few times. It seems like every turn we end up going to, we end up pairing up somehow. He's a great player. He's gotten really good, really scary, plays a lot of destruction. But today he was playing Nighthaunt. And if you are watching this video later on, Nighthaunt was the scourge of 4th edition's index beginning here. They just have a lot of movement, run and charge, retreat and charge, fly, 4-up save across the board, just super fast, lots of attacks, and they can debuff you with their charge based on what unit charges into you, everything from strikes last to -1 to save. There were some points at which he told me that he had some people at -4 to their save or something crazy like that between the sun and 2 units coming in with minuses to save. It was a scary list. I was worried about it because if you watched our battle report with my brother, he played Nighthaunt and I played Gloomspite all trolls, and it was just a bloodbath. And so that was my only experience with Nighthaunt in 4th edition, and this is here we are going into Eric, a great opponent, with his Nighthaunt. Deathstalkers, that's the formation, letting them retreat and charge, run and charge, all those things. He took, he was 3 drops, Lord of the Underworlds, Morbid Conjuration yet again, seemed like there were suns flying around all over the place at the tournament. His General's Regiment was Lady Olinder, great unit, 4-up ward, just a bear to deal with, man. Blade Geist Revenants, 20 of those. Regiment number 1, Guardian of Souls, Dread Scythe Harridans, 20 of those. 20 more Dread Scythe Harridans, and then in Regiment number 2, he had Reknar, the Black Coach, and 2 Dreadblade Harrows. So it's a pretty scary looking list. And on this battle plan, it was going to be, movement was going to be a big deal. He definitely had the advantage on that. So here was our deployment for Skaven. We got, this was end of turn 1 for me. No, it wasn't. Excuse me, this was into the hero phase, turn 1. We deployed our Storm Vermin unit on the right here, another one in the forest there. Kind of doing this strong side deployment here, trying to just affect these 3 objectives initially. We're trying to stay away from all of his army because they're super fast, and we're hoping that maybe we can just deal with this unit and not have to deal with all of it at the same time. Clan Riot screening, Jezzail's within range of being able to target this unit, and also be able to take the Seize the Center as if we wanted to. Once again, took the priority targets as +1 to hit and wound. He took on this unit +1 rend against infantry units. It was a great choice. Lady O right here in the center, hiding behind the terrain there. So in this battle round, 1 ended up giving him first turn, and this was his, he got the sun out on his turn, moved everything up, got Shade Mist off if I remember correctly, ran these guys up all the way over here. I mean, just look how far that went. He was way over here, ran all the way up here, just a charge away. We did use our Claw Steps move to move the Storm Vermin back in his hero phase to kind of make the charge a little bit more difficult. Coach moved up here. This unit in the back over here. So we did magical intervene to get the Gravetide off. Trying to, I wanted to have it over here, but after I didn't have enough room from Thankful to put it over here. Should have done it with the Warp Seer, but the +1 to negate the -1 was why we chose Thankful. Ended up having to put it over here, and the goal was to kind of threaten to go across any unit that came into the clan rats there. So as his battle tactic for turn 1, he chose Seize the Center. So this is not fully, he's not fully finished his movement phase. He took the, moved everything up, and here was the end of his charge phase coming in here. Got Seize the Center with this unit. He made the charge in here, but had to re-roll it, if I remember correctly, to jump over. Excuse me, no. He made this charge, but this charge right here, which if I remember correctly was either a 6 or 7 inch charge, he ended up failing. Failed on the reroll as well. We had redeployed the Jezzails, which was a misplay on my part. I wasn't sure if I was going to take turn 1 or give it to him, but I should have thought about it a little bit more and deployed my Jezzails back with the idea of giving him first turn. I deployed them forward within range in case I wanted to take turn 1 so that I didn't have to move up. But the better play would have been definitely to leave them back here. So we had to redeploy them, hoping, because I was just thinking he was going to make this charge for sure, and then they'd be stuck in combat. So, but with him failing his charge was very fortunate for me, which meant only this unit right here got into combat. And we procced Strikes Last from the Rampage on the Warp Seer. So we were able to get in with him, a couple clan rat attacks, and this unit of 20 storm vermin. But due to this mistake with the Jezzails not deploying them back enough and having to spend that CP for a redeploy, did not have to CP to countercharge with this unit, which would have been really spicy. Get in there and hit them and take them out before they ever got a chance to attack. So that was the end of his turn. He completed his battle tactic, foresees the center, and we killed a large part of his unit because of strikes last, and then the clan rats also took some damage. Warps here didn't end up taking any damage. He put everything in the storm vermin. So this was roll off for turn 2. I ended up winning it and took the double turn, yes. Took the double turn. Because we wanted to kill this unit and move up and try and take out this whole flank here. We were hoping through recovery fire to do some good damage to the blade guys, and we did so. So, on my turn, we killed his blade geist unit, my turn 1, rather, we did slay the entourage, because that was his first turn. So this is the end of my first turn. Slay the entourage to kill that unit that failed the charge. We killed this unit, got them with strikes last as well. Shot this unit off, moved up the clan rats. Thankful got in there. And this unit of storm vermin that we're in here made it up into the Dreadblade Harrows, I guess. Lots of weird names in the Nighthaunt, and I mess those up from time to time. We made that charge into them as well. And this was us. We ended up scoring our battle tactic for Slay the Entourage and took the double turn, like I mentioned a minute ago. Ended up winning that game. It was a hard fought game. 37-27. Back and forth. It basically ended up down to a roll-off at turn 3, 4? Yeah, going into 4, if I remember correctly. That was whether or not I was going to be able to get my unit into units into combat and finish off his last couple of units. If he would have gotten it, he would have just killed what I had left and just run rampant and got max points for the rest of the game. My lessons from that game were to make sure to not deploy the Jezzails too far up and to really know if I was going to take turn 1 or not. Like I said, I only played Nighthaunt one time before and hadn't really, during deployment, figured out whether or not I was going to take turn 1 or not. It should have been obvious because they're fast. Let them move up and then charge into them if they fail their charges, but they were just so fast I was convinced, I was thinking that he was going to get everything in, which is what he did on his first 2 games. But it was a wonderful game, very close game until the end there. Ended up being a 37-27 victory for the Rats, and that made us go 3 wins with no losses, but did get us to 2nd place by 5 points. The best overall was won by yet another Nighthaunt right here, Zachary Jin, if I'm saying that right. Won best overall. Here's a picture of his. Here's a really nicely painted army. Lots of purple and blues there. It was really nice. He just was destroying left and right. He ended up getting 1st place by 5 points over me, giving him best overall. Well deserved there. He said after he's probably going to move on to playing Skaven just everybody loves the rats. It's their edition after all. So the overall event results here, just kind of recognize the people who left with the awards. We got Zachary Jen again with best overall. Doug Overstreet didn't have any pictures of his army, but he was playing Stormcast, and he got best lore. In this event, if you wrote a compelling backstory for your army, you would be graded on that, and he wrote just a killer story for his army, and that got him best lore. Best appearance, like we said, best painted for Joshua Arnold with his Sylvaneth army. Very good job there. I ended up getting best general as second place because Zachary ended up winning best overall. So that worked out for me. Lindsay plays Fleshier Courts, and she won best sportsman. She's won best sportsman, I think, every event that we've played here. She's just a really great player to play against. Just wonderful experience. Plays a tight game. So for everybody out there who thinks that you gotta lose to get best sportsman, it's not true. She's a great player and just also fun to play against, which is important. You gotta be fun to play against. And I want to highlight once again Zachary Flores as the tournament organizer, making it all possible, and Go4 Games for hosting the place. Great location, great place. And with this series of events, everyone who won one of these awards wins an invitation to what they call the Tournament of Champions. If you watched previous tournament reviews for last year in 3rd edition, we ended up getting a win that allowed us to attend that Tournament of Champions at the end of the year. So we did qualify for that, but due to my work schedule, I am not going to be available to go to the Tournament of Champions, but it's a fun series nonetheless, and a great place to go. He actually had people on the waiting list, waiting to go play. So there it is, guys. Wrapped up tournament review, quick and dirty. The Rats took 3-0. Just really love the Rats. Excited about the new Battle Tome. Some of the units I've got pre-ordered are for sure that Brood Terror. He's like my #1. I don't care how many points he's going to be. Got him on pre-order. He just looks super cool. Ever since they leaked him, just been looking forward to him. Also, the weapons teams, the Warp Block Globadiers, and the Warp Block, what's his name? The hero that pairs with the weapons teams. I just love his rule where he can just arc lightning from one unit to the next. It's really flavorful, and I'm looking forward to it, like a little mad scientist rat. But yeah, guys, that was the tournament there. I wish I could have gotten a little bit more detailed pictures along the way, but that Nighthaunt game was just super close and tight and very difficult. So that kind of took my attention away from taking more pictures. Eric's a wonderful player. He ended up actually this next weekend following, this is 1 week old, ended up winning with Nighthaunt at another tournament, 1-day tournament. So yeah, shout out to Eric. We're always playing each other. Yep, let me know what else you guys want to hear in the future. If you like this kind of video, if you just want to hear the battle reports. But I like doing these kinds. Hopefully get some learnings along the way, and just encourage you to really get out there and play the game. Just go to tournaments, get the reps in. You don't have to be super experienced. Enjoy yourself. Signing out, guys.